Now, I think we'll all pretty much agree that the Jedi, in theory, maybe not always in practice, are truly a force for good in the Star Wars galaxy, that they help far, far more than they do any sort of harm, that they are indeed the guardians of peace and justice in the Republic, as Obi-Wan once described them as. That said, though, there is at least one practice of theirs that is, shall we say, a bit on the questionable side, one that many eager to make any sort of case against the Jedi will almost always bring up, which is that they take children at a very young age, when they basically are just toddlers, and then indoctrinate them in the ways of the Jedi, without them ever really being given any sort of choice. And before getting too deep into things here, let me quickly clear up a bit of a misconception about all this, which is that the Jedi don't just show up when they discover a Force-sensitive child and take them. They're not literal baby snatchers. They only take a child to be trained when they have the permission of the parents to do so, and if those parents say no, then that's it, it's over. They move on and let them live out their life. And yes, you can certainly still argue that even if parents do give permission, this is still a very, very shady practice, that not even parents have the right to make such a huge life-altering or life-consuming decision for their children before they can even have any sort of say in the matter whatsoever, though there are reasons why the Jedi do it this way, which I will get to in a bit. However, let me also say that I'm not going to exactly defend this from a personal standpoint. Instead, think of me more as a lawyer who's been hired by the Jedi to argue on their behalf, because I can see and understand their reasoning here, even if I don't fully agree with it. In other words, I get why they do what they do, but that doesn't mean I personally like all of it or even think it's necessarily the best way of doing things. Because, to be honest, yes, there are some really strong counter-arguments against this practice, one that are hard to explain away, especially given the core and fundamental beliefs or principles of the Jedi, which center around such things as selflessness and freedom, or freedom of choice and the freedom to live how one sees fit. And as I've pointed out before, there are few things more selfish than robbing others of choice and making them live or believe how you think they should. Few things more selfish than turning people into what you want them to be, and then using them for your cause. And so the first thing I feel like I need to bring up here is the huge difference between our galaxy, or our reality, and the Star Wars galaxy and its fictional reality, and that huge difference is, of course, the Force, that there literally exists an energy field in the Star Wars galaxy that some living beings can tap into and use to do extraordinary things. And this energy field is essentially the backbone of existence itself there. In many ways, it is life. And not only that, but there is a dark side to it. Evil is a real, and you could say tangible thing in the Star Wars galaxy. It exists objectively and can have influence over people and the actions they take. And before you want to make an argument against that somehow, let's keep in mind that the creator of this fictional reality, George Lucas, has expressed before that the light and dark sides are real things, which simply makes them as such. What the creator says basically goes. Though we could certainly still debate about what exactly they are, or if maybe the actions of individuals bring about the light and dark sides, and that there is only the Force, or there would be only the Force, if it wasn't for sentient life making selfish or selfless decisions. But even if that is the case, even if it is something that is being manifested by the actions of people, that still means the dark side is an objective thing or reality. It does exist. And we know it can exert influence over people. So again, evil is objectively real in Star Wars. However, here in the real world, most would say that it only exists subjectively, that we define what makes something evil or not, and that there is no malevolent supernatural force or power or entity behind it or behind the evil actions some people take, nothing otherworldly that literally influences them. Though yes, some might want to argue the existence of something or someone like the devil, but let's not get into a religious debate about that here and now, and for the sake of argument, let's just assume there is no devil or any sort of equivalent from any type of religion. And so, in a very roundabout way, what I'm saying here is that evil genuinely exists in Star Wars and can do great harm, and thus great good is needed to combat it. If there are those who will use the dark side of the Force to harm and control others, if Sith are a real thing, and they are in Star Wars, then something on the opposite end of the spectrum is arguably needed to fight them and safeguard the galaxy. And thus Jedi are not only needed, but they need to be capable of defeating this greatest of evil. They need to be trained and devoted to this cause above all else for the sake of, well, for the sake of everything else. And we have to keep in mind that there are only a very, very few number of people or beings in the galaxy with the potential to become a Jedi. A fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percentage are strong enough with the Force to ever become one. It's a literal 1 in a billion, if not 1 in tens of billions of chance that you'll be Force sensitive enough to be a Jedi. When you consider there were 10,000 or so Jedi during the height of their power around the prequel era, and who knows how many trillions upon trillions, if not many more, sentient beings in the galaxy. Which then means it's not like the Jedi are out there and going around asking a great number of people to give up their children to be a Jedi. And it's not like they ask for selfish reasons. They only seek out these children to see to it that something, some type of defense, can stand against literal evil in the galaxy when it arises and threatens everything. Which then brings us to the tough question of, can the Jedi justify essentially taking choice away from, we'll say, 1 out of every 10 billion people born in the galaxy, if it means potentially saving all the others from the tyranny of the Sith? Which, I think it's interesting to point out, is sort of the opposite of what the Sith do or strive to do. In their case, it's the individual trying to take away choice from everyone else, which is exactly why the Jedi are needed to stop them. And maybe the funny thing about this question is that, going by their own philosophies, the Jedi of all people in the galaxy would probably normally say no. They don't have the right to take away choice from even one individual, not even a single person, even if it means potentially saving the galaxy, that everyone has the right to choose their own destiny. Whereas here in the real world, if you pitch the idea that, let's say, one person born every year across the world, completely at random, needed to be picked and then taken and trained to protect the rest of the world from some sort of evil, most people would probably, maybe begrudgingly so, agree to this or be okay with it, or would at least accept it as a sort of necessary evil. Heck, I think a lot of people would wish it could be them. I think a lot of people would love the idea of being something akin to a Jedi here in the real world, that they would gladly give up a normal life for the cause. Just like I'd imagine a lot of people in the Star Wars galaxy would like to be a Jedi too. I don't think Anakin is the only kid who's ever dreamed of becoming a Jedi. And they would gladly serve and follow all of the rules of the Order to a T without question, which then leads to the question of, well, why can't it be a choice? Why do they take children at such a young age? Why not just wait till they're older, till they're at least in their early teen years perhaps, and they can have some sort of grasp on the ramifications of the choice? Let them get a taste of what life free of such a stringent commitment is first. And the Jedi response to that might be, and let's be honest, is a bit of a harsh one, which is that they don't want potential Jedi to ever form such a strong connection with anyone, that they don't want them to have any attachments whatsoever, so that, in theory, they will never favor one person over another, and will see every single situation clearly and from all sides, so that they can always be fair and impartial, and only help when and where absolutely needed. There's also the fact that fear of loss is one of the quickest and easiest paths to the dark side. The story of Anakin Skywalker is probably the best or worst example we have of how someone, even with a good heart and the best of intentions, can be swayed to the dark side because they care more about a single person than even the fate of the galaxy. It should also be noted that a Jedi can leave the Order, though it's obviously not easy or encouraged, as Obi-Wan basically tells Anakin in Episode 2, though Ahsoka made it look pretty easy in the Clone Wars. Either way, it's not like they can't leave, like there are any truly negative consequences imposed upon them, though you could argue that since the Jedi Order is the only thing and way of life they've ever really known, that it makes it especially difficult to walk away from it. Another interesting thing to bring up here, and this is more of a theory than anything else, but it could be possible that anyone born Force sensitive or strong enough with it to be a Jedi is actually meant to be a Jedi, that it is their destiny, their reason for being given such a strong connection to the Force in the first place. Though yes, as far as we know, it is something completely random, but it may only look that way, who knows for sure. But of course the problem with this theory is that if someone is born and meant to be a Jedi, does that person actually have free will at all? Though we could also take another big step back here and say that since the will of the Force does exist, and that the Jedi try to carry out that will, that the Jedi don't actually believe in free will at all either. They believe in people following the path meant for them or laid out for them by the Force. And though this is something I think we could get much deeper into, and maybe will in a future video, but this I would counter by saying the Jedi don't make anyone walk the path the Force has designed or laid out for them, They only make sure they can walk whatever path they desire. Plus, as Yoda said, the future is always in motion, which I think partly means that the Force doesn't have a truly set destiny for everything and everyone. It merely tries to guide people in a way that leads to balance for all. The last and maybe most important thing that needs to be kept in mind here is that though the life of a Jedi is a hard one, as Qui-Gon once said to Anakin, it is also an extremely rewarding one. Too often I think people look at the Jedi way and see only what they're denying themselves or what the rules of the Order deny them, and don't see what the Jedi gets out of all this, which is a profound sense of purpose. They are the literal protectors of the galaxy. So to make a quick closing argument here, the Jedi do not take children without permission, and those children are not forced to stay in the Order. They can leave if they want to. Furthermore, the Jedi don't carry out this practice for any true personal gain. Everything they do is for the greater good of the galaxy, to protect it from objective evil, to stop the Sith and ensure balance in the galaxy, so that everyone can, more or less, live as they see fit. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to weigh in on this topic. Is this an inexcusable practice by the Jedi? Is there a better way, maybe? Or is this just a sort of necessary evil, what must be done? Is it okay to ask so much out of one in every few billion people? Especially again when you consider the profound sense of purpose it gives to the individual, and that they can leave the Order if they want to. Whatever you think, leave a comment below, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.